Right, so we're talking about Rollerdrome. Before we get to the game, what's the confusion?
Well, because I was looking at it as to whether to get it or not, and I opened up in the app, like if you're thinking, okay, I'm just gonna like buy this now or download it or whatever, and it's not clear as to which one. If you click on the demo version, it's not clear if this is like a PS4 version, PS5 version, or
Okay.
that kind of thing. It's
So
just
have you actually bought it, or did you just get the demo?
I just got the demo in the end.
I thought it was very, very clear when I bought it which version you're supposed to be buying. Yeah, it comes up. Like usually I've moaned about Sony in the past with them sort of separating out the versions or whatever. But no, it's very clear when I bought it which one you should be buying. So it come up PS5 straight away. I was quite happy with
Was
that.
that on the
Anyway,
console though?
no, that was on the app. I think I bought it on
Okay.
the app. Yeah, was it bad on the console? Did you do it through the console?
Yeah, and it was a bit yeah. Then when I was
Right.
looking at buying it, it was all just like I'm not. It's just confusing. It's
All
not
right.
great.
The thing is, if
Okay.
you buy one, you get both anyway, right? So it's just about which one you download. And I think since the last firmware update, they have made things a little clearer.
Yeah,
I didn't have any
I
particular
think there are
problems.
tags now, and it does say which version you want to get. But
Mm.
So we've all
anyway,
played this, right? How much have you played, Matt? How far into it are you?
I'm on to the semi-final levels.
Yeah, same here. James, how far did you get?
I only played it for the mandated hour that the demo was. So yeah,
So you
that's
finished it?
Yeah.
No, I
But
will say I think it's hard to judge this game on an hour's worth of gameplay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, look what Rollerdrome is. It's a sort of mix between an arcade shooter, which is wave based, so it's like think of a horde mode style shooter, with mixed with a one of those old PS2 Tony Hawk style games, the extreme sports games. We'll get into the controls later. It doesn't really control like either of those really, but yeah. So that's the quick hand. It's got beautiful style. It's sort of set in the near future. I think isn't it set in 2030?
2030, yeah.
Yeah.
I think kind of actually, nah. You should probably that should be further into the future. I think I can't imagine us creating a sport where you're rolling around an arena and shooting people in just 8 years' time. But you never know. The way things are fucking going, right? Yeah. Look, listen. I love the idea. I love the look. It's got sort of a. Do you remember when everyone used to say cell shaded? Do you remember
Yeah,
that? And
yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
regularly used phrase. It's kind of got a cell shaded
And now
comic
everyone's like,
book
it's
style.
like Sable. Do you remember Sable? It looks like Sable.
That's exactly what I was trying to think of. Yeah, Sable.
um, and it's a game that I feel that I should love, but I'm just not getting enough of that love out of it. I mean, when I initially first started playing it, let's start with the controls, right? So, the first thing you'll notice is that it does not control like the older sort of extreme sports style games, right? Most notably, you do not hold forward. In most of those games, pretty much all of them, you hold forward on the analog stick. It takes a while to stop you doing that because holding forward is unnecessary. All you do is you tap up on the stick to make. What's the character's name? Anyone know?
Kara Hassan?
Kara. Yeah, you
think
press
Kara.
up on the stick to make Kara go forward, and then you leave it. You press left or right to steer her. That's it. You do hold down the X button, but whereas in those older games, the longer you held it down, the higher you went. That does not seem to be the case on this. Could be wrong, but that's not the feeling I get. Also, all of the tricks are pretty much done on the left stick rather than the right stick. Which would have felt more natural to me, but the right stick is obviously left for camera control, so that you can aim while you're upside down or whatever. You've got a flip trick on the R1 and a grab trick on the square, and that's pretty much it. The trick system is not complicated; it's very straightforward.
Yeah. There's also crucially dodge on circle button.
Dodge on the circle button, but that's not really part of the trick system. It's sort of just to avoid getting shot or hit by a baseball bat at any point. You've also got a slow motion trigger button that's L2, and yeah, it's kind of like usually where you're playing a third person shooter, you've got your sort of aimed out sights. you're kind of doing that, even though you're not aiming down sights. You're just using that to slow down time, and it's time limited, so you don't have it forever. But it screams at me that I would love this game. It really does. It's got everything there that I love. It's got the score building. It's got the shooting. It's got the action. It's got a unique visual style, interesting music, soundtrack. But I don't know. I would say 90% of the time I've spent with this, I've just either felt angry or disappointed or bored, or frustrated. And I've not enjoyed my time with it. There's been 10% of the time where I've gone, oh, I can feel this now. I can feel this now. And I think the most enjoyable part I've had with this game is going back to the first 4 levels and trying to get a combo together. So combos work by doing tricks, but also by killing an enemy, right? So your multiple your multiplier goes up every time you kill an enemy. You build up points by doing tricks, right? So you combine that together, and you can go a whole level doing one combo, basically, if you're quick enough by killing enemies.
Yeah.
So doing those missions are fine, but anything above that, the game seems to go, right, let's just fucking chuck loads of really annoying enemies at you. Let's have 5 snipers in this wave. So you're not thinking, okay, I'll go there, do that, do this, do that, do that. You're constantly going, oh, got to dodge again, got to dodge again. I'm in the middle of a trick, but let me dodge again. It's like, it's really just...
I'm so glad you're saying these words, because I thought I would be the only one coming to this show that is not a massive fan. I mean, this looked good when it got announced a while ago. I was like, this looks amazing, can't wait for this. And then the Eurogame review gave it essential, and it got loads of amazing reviews. I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be very, very good. And I was with you. The first 3 or 4 levels, this looks amazing. I love the vibe. The music's okay. It's kind of synthwave. It's not. It doesn't blow me away, but it does enough. There's like little kind of adventuring bits that add to the story in between groups of levels, where you can, it's only for a very short area, but you can like walk around, like a train or like the training facility, and you get kind of, you see other kind of environmental storytelling bits to explain about who you are and why you're doing this and what the tournament's about. And I love that. The game itself, it feels amazing when you nail a combo. It feels amazing when you dodge something in slow-mo and then spin around and kill that person. But yeah, it got to the quarterfinals, I think it was. So there's like the initial opening round of like 4 levels, then 4 quarterfinals, then I guess 4 semis and 4 for the final. So I think there's 16 levels. And yeah, it got me to the second lot levels. I'm like, oh, I think I must be rubbish at this, and I'm also kind of done with this. One of the levels, like the first time you go to like the outdoor area, I did that on like so you do like the first outdoor level, I did it on my second go. I was like, okay, maybe I'm learning something, maybe I'm getting better. And by doing it, I mean you can basically finish a level just by killing all the enemies. There's also loads of other challenges, like Dave said. There's like collect these 5 things that are floating around the location, do a certain grind in a certain area, a certain jump, kill people in a certain way. There's loads of them challenges, but to actually finish a level, it's just basically kill all the enemies. And one of these I did like second go. I was like, okay, I finally got it. And then after that, I spent literally hours on one level trying to finish it, and I couldn't, because if it wasn't a laser that gets you, it was like some enemies, when they die, they throw out these like mines, and you can dodge through these things, and you can dodge through all the things really, but you've got to be constantly dodging. And I want to do like a combo, or I'm about to go up to a ramp which I desperately need to do a certain jump on a certain ramp, or do a grind over a certain area, and just as I'm about to, a laser's shooting me, I need to hit like circle to do a dodge or perfect dodge, and I'm like, just kind of wore me out. So
this is it, because I think the game, what I want from a game like this is a flow and an energy to it, right? I want to feel that I'm going from enemy to enemy, and I'm picking my path, and I've got lines. Like that's what Tony Hawk's so brilliant at. You're picking your lines, right? And you're working your way through a level in a certain way to piece everything together. And your dodges, if you do a perfect dodge, it counts to your combo, but it also breaks that feeling of flow, because suddenly you're having to cancel what you were doing just to dodge.
Yeah.
And it does things like, I read it in a bunch of reviews that it's really cool that you can't like fall over.
Yeah.
There's at no point, if you screw up and you're not lining your skates up to the floor, you don't wipe out like they do in Tony Hawk, and then you have to wait for your character to respawn or whatever. They don't do that because it helps towards the flow. Absolutely right, totally agree with that. But there's bits in the level where you just fall out. What's the difference? And what's the difference? If you've made the effort to make the system work so that you can't just crash, why then can you jump out of the arena and then you get respawned back into the arena? There's one level with a gap in the middle of it, and it's like, well, if you don't judge that right, okay, you're punishing me, okay, fine, but it also takes away from that flow that you're trying to achieve, or that supposedly you're trying to achieve by taking out wipeouts. And it just gets to the point where I just kind of think, I'm not getting enough out of this that I want to get out of it. And as I said, there are moments where that does happen, but they've only been in those earlier levels and not the ones where it's like constantly being sniped at from the other side, or they introduce enemies that are so fucking annoying to take down. There is, the robots and stuff that take like 4 hits from
and then there's some that kind of teleport. You do like 1 or 2 shots and then they teleport to another part of the location.
And the idea of that is like a lot of those, it's trying to teach you actually use this weapon to attack this enemy. So like, for example, the basic enemies are always better to do with the shotguns. The guys with the rocket launchers do them with the pistols because you can take them out if you're quick enough, and all that sort of stuff. But then it gets to the point where it's just kind of like, okay, but even with the weapon that I think I'm supposed to take you down with, like for example, the big robots with the grenade launcher, it still takes 5 hits from a grenade launcher, and you can only have two pieces of ammo. Yeah, 2 rounds, and then you've got to do a bunch of tricks to get more, and it's kind of like, it feels like it's holding me back from actually properly getting into that flow that I want to get into while playing this game.
Yeah, but there are moments where it just feels incredible when you nail these moves. And I mean, like as David mentioned, to get more ammo for the weapons, and you got 4 weapons, a handgun, shotgun, grenades, and then this other kind of like long distance kind of rifle thing. And to get the ammo for them, you've got to do tricks, and if you do different tricks rather than doing the same trick over and over, then your ammo increases faster. So it's trying to convince you, encourage you to do more different tricks rather than just going to the edge of the ramp, doing a 360 and coming back down, because that will ultimately take a lot longer to get your ammo. But when you do nail that, and when you do go slow motion over someone's head and you aim and you kill them and you get an explosion, you get like the health that the enemy gives you once you've killed them, and then you like dodge through a laser or dodge through like an exploded mine. It feels and looks absolutely incredible, but I just got too frustrated personally. Now, one thing this game does do amazingly well is it has loads and loads of things you can change to make it easier, or guessing
I heard about this today. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know this was a thing.
So I can't remember what they're called. I should remember, but I can't remember. But basically, you go into the settings menu. There are absolutely loads, and you can go from like, you can turn invincibility on. You can determine the amount of damage Kara takes from 100% all the way down to, I guess, 0%. So you can like really like granularly like change it for your perfect difficulty, really. And I got so fucked off on one level. I was like, okay, I thought I was gonna get this game finished over the weekend. It said 3 to 5 hours. I'm like, brilliant, a 3 to 5 hour shooting skating experience. I'm gonna love this. And I was like, it was very clear that I wasn't gonna get it done. And I got so fucked off after playing. It was one level for hours and hours and getting killed. And like the final couple of enemies in the final round, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put invincibility on. Are they called oh no, I just forgot again. Put invincibility mode on, and then it didn't feel any better. It was still frustrating, and I was like,
in what way was it frustrating?
Because I still get shot with the lasers. There was still like no flow. It wasn't like it just, and I wasn't losing any kind of health, and it still enabled me to do like super reflex modes and stuff. But I don't know, it just didn't feel good. And I stopped that night and I was like, maybe I'm done with this. Maybe I just can't be bothered anymore. I have since gone back and I turned invincibility off and like kind of changed some of the kind of damage amounts that Kara takes to, try other levels and stuff. And I do want to get done, but for me personally, it's just too frustrating.
They've also got the other side of this game is not only just getting through the levels and that. To get onto the next batch of levels, you need to do certain challenges, right? A little bit like Tony Hawk, where, you know, as you say, you've mentioned it before on this podcast, but, you know, collecting certain things or doing certain tricks. And they're not fun to do. They're not like enjoyable ones, are they? They're sort of like, do this trick next to this token. Okay, I'll do that. And then I'll get to the end and it will say you've done it, and that counts towards you going on to the next batch of levels, which is fine, I guess. But I think that's ultimately it, right? Okay. I know Sean's been enjoying this way more than I have, so
he's
I'm
been
interested.
this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm interested to hear his point of view next week for sure. I just when I'm playing this for the vast majority of the time, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not finding it fun to play, and I think that ultimately tells me that maybe I should just stop then. Because it's weird though, because I want to go and play it a little bit more.
Yeah, so do I. And I watched a couple of like other people do incredible runs on YouTube. It looks so bloody cool because so you can press like, was it L1 to do this super reflex time, which basically slow mo. You have a limited amount of time of it. You can use it anytime you want. Obviously, once it cools down, you can do it again. And if you dodge like a laser, so lasers go on you, they're like grey, then red, then white. When they're white, they're about to shoot you. If you dodge then and then hit reflex time, you get like super reflex time, which means the things you fire do way more damage to enemies. And again, combining that also feels really fucking cool. Perfect dodging at the right time, then activating reflex time to take out an enemy that's been like kicking your ass. There's so many brilliant moments. I am just unable to kind of tie it all together, and the kind of annoyances kind of annoy me too much. But having said that, I mean, just what you said, Dave, I also do kind of want to go back and play because I would like to see more. But playing the earlier levels were just better with less enemies.
Yeah, that's it. The early, it feels like there should be a lot more levels to the standard of those first four in terms of in terms of like level design, but in terms of enemies, the amount of enemies they are, and the amount of variety of enemies. Because I think every time it adds a new enemy, I just find them fucking annoying. Do you know what I mean? Like, you start off with the basic, rocket launcher, sniper, baseball bat guy, that sort of stuff. But then all of a sudden, there's the ones that leave a trail of blue smoke on the floor, or whatever. That's annoying. Then you've got what was the latest one I've got, the ones that drop from the sky and just leave like this acid patch on the floor.
Yeah, well,
like, brilliant.
All the green stuff. Yes. I quite enjoyed the boss battle before that. I thought that was quite cool.
That was all right. Yeah, I guess.
I thought that was good.
Okay, so James, you've not played it for that long. Have you got anything to add, or how are you finding it?
I mean, I played it for the hour that you got from the demo. And I mean, put it this way: from playing that, there's no way I'm going to buy it. Mostly because I mean, you're right. You can't judge the entire game based on that hour. Like I know. Well,
the reason why I'm saying that, the reason why I'm saying that is not that you would, right?
Yeah.
But I think the control systems are so wildly different to what you expect them to be when you pick it up. I think you need a couple of hours to at least wrap your head around the fact that you shouldn't be pressing forward, and and understanding what the game's actually asking you to do, because it's the sort of game that seems intuitive when you first start it, and then you go, oh no, actually this wants me to do something else actually. And it takes a while to get that message across, I think.
Yeah, you see, as I said to you, like when we were talking about this, like privately, it's like I don't have the whole thing with Tony Hawk's that you had. Like, so the control thing, I thought going into this would be like, oh, maybe it's just because you're used to a certain way of doing things or whatever, and so it's going to be, it's more difficult to adjust. But then I really didn't like the controls either. I just found they felt just really too loose to me, like all the time. That everything just felt really loose, and I didn't like that so much. And also, I just found it boring, honestly. Like, I mean, the biggest problem with it was the at the beginning they do the whole. I know you can see you laughing, Matt. It's I said at the beginning.
I know, but
it was
can't
close.
resist.
It was close, but yeah, no, like you have to do like the training and everything before you're actually allowed to go out and do the shooting stuff.
Yeah.
That goes on for ages, and it's not. I don't think it's very well put together, that training section, because it didn't make me feel like I was excited to get into the main game and start playing it at all. And then when I eventually got to do the first level, I just found it a bit irritating. with the controls being kind of loose, and I don't think it looks that nice either. It looks really bland to me.
Oh, I don't know.
I
I think
it looks
I like
nice,
the
yeah.
style actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic at points.
But you see, I go back and I think of stuff like Jet Set Radio and stuff like that. That looked amazing.
Well, no,
like,
it's
back in the
definitely
day,
more muted, a more muted palette than that. Obviously, it's not as vibrant, but I love the more muted palette. Frankly, I think it's got a really fantastic style. I think everything.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do quite like the way it looks. That's what gets
I got
me.
up to the bit where you unlock the shotgun. Like that's where I got up to, and then I was just doing these bits over and over, and I was just like, I'm not really enjoying this at all, and I don't want to play it. I don't want to play.
Do you have
this
the
game.
same reaction, Leon, or are you a little bit more positive than us?
Similar, really. There was a news story about the demo, in fact, and I don't know whether they fixed this, but actually, when I downloaded it, it wasn't. It said it was an hour, but it was actually 35 minutes that you actually got. I saw somewhere, I think it was Eurogamer, actually ran a story saying it's weird. It says you get an hour, but you don't.
Well, I mean, isn't that one of the things that Sony sells its premium service on? That everything gets an hour's thing, or is it separate from that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yes, it didn't. It was definitely saying you've got 35 minutes, but I didn't even.
Quick! Someone contact Alex Neil.
Yes, exactly. But they may have sorted that out after I downloaded it anyway. I saw the reviews. It's sitting on an 80 on OpenCritic at the moment, so solid, but not
reviewed
stellar.
Incredibly well.
And obviously it was evocative of Jet Set Radio with the skating and the cell shading. I've got a lot of fondness for that sort of, the sort of finger gymnastics of the Tony Hawk's games. I went through the demo bit, which was a little bit dry and stodgy. But I thought it's probably the kind of game that, once you've acclimatized, as you say, to the controls and got your head and brain around the combo mechanics, I can imagine it's the sort of game that you get more out of the better you get at it. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to have perhaps quite hooked people in the way that Neon White did a few months ago. And I found you were saying it felt loose, but if anything, maybe this is just the way we've interpreted the way the controls feel, but I thought, if anything, like the character didn't rotate fast enough for me, or wasn't quite responsive enough compared to the things I was being asked to do. I was thinking, this game, has it got, like, once you're fully into career mode, has it got a skill tree or RPG element so that you can, like in Tony Hawk's 1 and 2, you actually increase your rotation speed and things like that. Yeah. Jump higher, all that stuff. That feels like that would be absolutely nailed on to make progress in this game. Obviously, I wasn't aware of those tweaks and gameplay options, accessibility, or whatever else they are. When I was playing the demo, I just left everything on default, and I didn't have a bad time, but I just found myself, as soon as the enemy started appearing on those high ledges that you couldn't easily get up to, and and then every time you land a trick, you then have to kind of you have to think every time you've kind of gone through killing one or two enemies, you then have to think much more carefully about reloading. And I thought, maybe this is the kind of game where you can fully get into the zone after a few hours practice. But I didn't feel it didn't hook me early enough to make me want to do that.
That's the thing.
I think it would have helped.
I don't think it makes a great first impression. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think it would have helped if there was a better difficulty curve, right? If there was 12 levels at the same sort of level of the first 4. Where it's not too many enemies, and then it slowly ramps up. Whereas this one, it's like 4 levels, then the next 4 are fucking way harder, and then I'm on the next 4, and they're fucking way harder. And I got to the point where I was like, no, I can't. I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do.
And is that the sum total of the game? Because, like, one of the major criticisms about second mention of this show, the recent Mario Strikers, is that all the single player content was just a cup, right? Just a bunch of cups. Yeah. You win all the cups and the single player's done. Is there anything more to this?
Well, yes. There's way more to this. There's the story stuff I haven't really been following. There's exploration bits at the start of every batch of levels, and there's terminals, there's story to read there. But no, even just having the idea that you've not only got the combo side of it, you've got the trying to get through the level side of it, and you've also got the the challenges. I think that offers you way more than Strikers ever did.
There's now a mode called Out for Blood mode, which opens once you finish it. I assume that's just harder. But I haven't obviously got anywhere near that. It's weird that we're saying about difficulty spike, because I felt that massively. But then the reviews I read say, the difficulty curve is perfect. Like what they do.
That's bollocks. That's just
like, wow.
I just don't agree with that at all. Whether it's bollocks or not is his personal opinion, but I do not agree with that in the slightest. I think the difficulty curve is shit. There's so much more that they could do to slowly ramp up to the levels where you are constantly getting bombarded from the other side of the map.
But I mean, I do applaud him for the assists, and I guess the assists, which I've remember the name now after googling it, like that is what enables you to hopefully change the experience as a bit more at your level. But for me, it still kind of didn't make it any more satisfying. Really, for me.
I think Leon's absolutely right. I would have loved to have seen a skill tree. I would have loved to have seen a way of unlocking more ammo for your favourite weapon, more damage for whatever weapon you want. I think that would have made it a lot more interesting. So it's a shame they didn't go down the route. I'm sure there's a reason for it. There's always a reason why devs don't do something that we think is obvious. But I think
sometimes some modern gaming is arguably kind of buried in RPG mechanics and skill trees to a fault in the point that not necessarily every game benefits from them, and there is something nice about the purity of a game that you pick up and you learn how to play, and it never changes from that baseline experience in the sense that it's all about your skill and your progression. So I guess that's what they were going for. I also think it was interesting. I saw a few comments online saying that people had just made the assumption based on the presentation of this game and the name that it was a multiplayer arena.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's initially what I
James,
thought.
Didn't you? I mean, James
I exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Not only is it not one of those, it's completely single player, right?
Yeah, it's single player only, isn't it? So, yeah, it's crazy. I was very surprised at that. I thought this was a multiplayer game, but until I read the reviews and I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm really interested to hear what Sean's got to say next week, because he's really been enjoying it.
He absolutely loves it.
So I'm sure there's people out there that will like this game. We just happen to be 4 people that did not get on with this game.
One really weird thing that hasn't happened to me in ever is that this game may be motion sick as well at one point.
Ooh. Really?
I'm not sure if it's because so on one of the days last week, Elodie was out, and I was like, wow, I can actually have a day where I play games. And I thought, I'm going to get this game done today. It's a 3 to 5 hour game. It wasn't the case, and maybe it's because I was just playing it for like a few hours and stuff. But yeah, I was like, God, I feel really unwell, and I felt a bit unwell for the last couple of weeks anyway. So I thought maybe it's just that, but. No, I think this game may be motion sick. It's bizarre. I mean, there's a lot of spinning. There's a lot of, you go in the air and then you turn in all sorts of directions. But
anything...
I've never had that
with non-VR. Did you play Tony Hawk a lot?
Yeah, I love Tony Hawk. Yeah, I've never had that on a non-VR game. So, yeah, I mean, Scientologist says I was drinking heavily. I was also drinking heavily. Could be that.
Could be that. Okay, so that's Rollerdrome. We'll come back to that next week. I'm sure. I mean, I will play more of it.
Did you think you could do enough to get it finished, Dave?
No. Not if the way I left it last time I played it made me think that I'm not even going to try and finish it.
What about if you go in and turn all the assists on just to kind of would that be enough?
It kind of feels like it defeats the point, but maybe I'll try that. I don't like.
On one of the levels, I turned the damage down to like 50%. I was like, okay, I'm getting through it a lot more. But ultimately, as I said previously, it just wasn't feeling that great.
Yeah, I suppose because I'm not I'm not. It doesn't really. I know you can check leaderboards and stuff, but that's not like in your face the moment you finish a level, is it? So I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll try this.
If you put the assist on, by the way, you're not on the leaderboard, so I will say that much.
Right. Okay. But then I don't want to be. I don't want to be on the leaderboards, Matt.
No, me neither. Forget it.
Yeah. They care about the leaderboards.
Grow up.
Okay. All right then. So that's Rollerdrome.